Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Man Over Habit podcast, where we explore the habits, mindset, and transformational stories that empower people to live healthier, happier, and more purposeful life. Today, we are diving into a topic that impacts millions of women, yet is often misunderstood, overlooked, or dismissed. Many women entering midlife find themselves battling fatigue, anxiety, caring for, emotional overwhelm, unexplained cravings, and challenges and changes they don't fully understand. So often they are told it is just stress, aging, or something they simply have to endure. But what if there is more to the story? What if those symptoms are actually your body's way of communicating important biological challenges? Our guest today is helping women understand exactly that. Joining us today is Nancy Thompson, a registered nurse, functional medicine nurse, coach, alcohol recovery coach, Reiki master, and holistic wellness expert. After dedicating more than 30 years to traditional nursing, nursing experienced a life-changing breast cancer diagnosis that transformed how she viewed healthcare and healing. That journey led her into functional medicine, where she discovered that symptoms are often message from the body rather than problem to simply suppress. Today, nurses specialize in helping women navigate perimenopause and menopause by addressing the root biological cause of cravings, fatigue, emotional turbulence, and hormonal imbalance. Her mission is to help women understand their unique hormone neurochemical blueprint so they can reclaim their energy, clarity, confidence.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
How did you, how did your breast cancer diagnosis change the way you view healthcare and healing?
Yeah, so I've been a nurse, as you said, for well over 30 years. And, having been in traditional medicine, working with patients in that arena, in that venue, I had just come to a place where that was the way that we practiced, traditional medicine. And when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was sitting in a meeting with the radiation oncologist, and we were talking about a plan for my care moving forward. And I felt in that moment, in that space, that he was not speaking to me. He was speaking to my diagnosis, to my clinical picture, to the scans and labs and the tests that had been done to get me to this diagnosis. And I was so overwhelmed. I had thought that with all of my background in nursing, that I should be able to navigate this space, that I should be able to advocate for myself. And it is so different being on the provider side and being on the patient side. You really need to be able to have someone to assist you and to speak to your full picture. And I just felt so overlooked and so overwhelmed in that moment. And I just knew then that there had to be more. There had to be a better way to help patients navigate these difficult things. Yes, we need the tests and the scans and all of the things that get you to the diagnosis, but we need to look at our patients as full, whole human beings. We need to see them as not just a physical diagnosis, but we need to see their emotional health, their mental health, their spiritual health, their social health. All of these things play into who they are and how they are going to navigate this difficult situation moving forward. And I just knew there in that space, in that moment, that there had to be more, and I wanted to find that.
Uh, that's so. If I may ask, what inspired you into functional medicine after your decades of experience in traditional medicine?
As I had said, I really felt like there was more, there needed to be more, there had to be a better way. And so for me, it was, how can I take this knowledge base that I have and how can I incorporate additional education and information into this space in order to see my patients as I described, full, whole human beings with all of these aspects to them, their health and their wellness and their healing. And so that was what kind of branched me into the functional medicine space. Um, and so taking all of these things and pulling them together to find the best way for my clients, my patients, and myself moving forward.
Okay. So you often say that symptoms are message from the body rather than life sentences. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so when you have a symptom, you have something going on in your body, whatever it is, you have a headache, you have a stomach ache, um, you have a lump in your breast, whatever it is. These things are telling you that it's not just this one thing. There's something going on underneath that's causing this one thing. And so, how do we find what is the underlying cause? How do we dig deeper into a person's full picture, their full background, their full health in order to find what is driving this, what's causing this symptom, and how can we, again, look at the best way to make this person fully and wholly healthy moving forward. Frequently, traditional medicine will treat that symptom, right? It's like almost like a band-aid or a pill for an ill. What we're trying to do from the functional medicine space is look at what is underlying that. What is causing the symptom? We're not going to put the band-aid on it. We're going to find what's underneath it, what's causing it, and how we can address it fully, wholly, and then move this person forward into the best health and space that they can be in.
Thank you for that. So many women blame themselves for mood swings, cravings, and emotional challenges during midlife. Why do you say it is not a character flaw of biology?
For so many women, when they got to this point, we call it midlife. I'm like, oh, midlife, it sounds like this, big thing. But it is where we are in our journey. And so when we get to this point in our lives, so many of us have navigated and carried so much throughout our entire lives to get here, whatever it is. We've education, families, our spouses, parents, children, all of these things we have carried and held space for and felt like we need to be able to handle it all. We need to be able to deal with it all. And so you get to this place and your body and your mind is changing. And it feels like for a lot of people, what's happening? Why is this happening? I should be able to deal with this. I've dealt with so much, carried so much my entire life. This is something I should just be able to deal with. And a lot of women feel ashamed as they're navigating this because of, again, feeling like they should be able to just deal with it. And also, wanting to blame themselves when, again, this is biology. This is your body telling you that things are changing, your hormones are shifting. And as we had talked about earlier, how can we find the best way to help these women to move forward in the best way, dealing with not just the symptoms, but the hormonal changes that are happening, and also helping them carry this in a way that feels okay, that feels like they're not being blamed for what is happening to them, that feels authentic and empowering. And so there's just so many pieces of this for women at this point. But it's really, really, again, important. So important for me to look at the whole picture, the whole woman, the whole clinical and emotional, social, spiritual picture in front of me.
So what exactly happened during hormonal uh, perimenopause and creates such dramatic emotional and physical change?
So what's happening in order to cause that? Is that kind of what you're asking?
What exactly happened during perimenopause and creates such dramatic emotional and physical changes?
So it's the bottom line is the basis is in hormonal changes happening in a woman's body at this point. So your levels of estrogen and progesterone are changing, and so these things cause major changes in your body physically, again, mentally, emotionally. The pleasure pathways in your brain can be hijacked by these hormones, and so it sometimes feels hard to be, happy in a way that you've been in the past, to find joy in things that you've found joy in before, things that you've navigated so easily sometimes feel challenging and annoying. The brain fog we talk about, you're looking at something, you're like, why do I have to read this 3 times in order to comprehend this? And again, this just feels so overwhelming. And so this is about, we'll call it hormonal chaos in a woman's body. And again, how do we find the best way to help her to move forward?
So, how do hormonal shifts affect brain chemistry and emotional regulations?
How do
How
does
do
what affect?
hormonal shifts affect brain chemistry and emotional regulations?
So yeah, just as I had just kind of talked about, the hormones can hijack the pathways in your brain that help you have pleasure and just emotional calm, and the things that you had been so easily able to navigate earlier in your life now become different and difficult. And so these hormonal shifts are hijacking those pathways in your brain. And so we look to find ways to address those changes through, we use functional nutrition, we use supplementation, we look for stress management skills. We talk about sleep. We talk a lot about sleep and how important that is in just navigating this moving forward. So there's so many pieces to it.
So, if I may ask, why do so many women experience intense craving for alcohol, sugar, or comfort foods during this stage of life?
So the pleasure pathways in your brain are being hijacked by these hormones. And so a lot of times, sometimes without even realizing it, women are looking for outside ways to cope with these changes, to find this pleasure, and also to just numb the changes and the stress and everything. And so sometimes that will lead to utilizing alcohol or, food. Sugar is a big one. And so again, looking at how to give women the tools to be able to navigate this without having to or wanting to lean on these outside kind of crutches.
Okay, what role does dopamine play in these cravings and behavior patterns?
As we just said, the hormonal shifts numb the natural reward pathways. So the brain seeks chemical shortcuts to feel a sense of pleasure or relief. And so that's how dopamine works here. As estrogen declines, the brain's natural reward architecture is dulled, and this leads to feeling gray and flat. And so again, this is where we look at women finding relief in outside sources like alcohol, like sugar. Yeah, so that's where the dopamine connection is and falls in the brain.
So, you have worked extensively in alcohol recovery. So, how does menopause impact women who are sober or trying to reduce alcohol consumption?
Yeah, again, these things so both menopause and recovery, we're talking about alcohol and the hormones hijacking the same pathways. And so for a woman, say maybe who has been in long time recovery, or not even long time, it could be, a few years or however many years in recovery, or having abstained from utilizing alcohol in her life, you get to a point where now your hormones are being hijacked. Your pathway, your pleasure pathways are being hijacked by your hormones. So the previous work that you've done around getting sober can be more challenging, because this was what you used before to find pleasure and to escape and to numb. And so now we've got these things competing, and so it can be extra challenging for a woman who is navigating recovery when she enters perimenopause and menopause.
So, what are some common signs that a woman your chemistry may be out of balance?
The signs that you're entering or in perimenopause will be, again, mood swings, hot flashes, night sweats, cravings, the brain fog, the mood swings, and sometimes you don't even realize that it's happening. Sometimes it can be slow, sometimes it comes on pretty quickly. Every woman is different, but paying attention to these things as they're coming up in our lives, and then looking to find ways to mitigate and navigate while being healthy and happy is really important.
Talking about today's brain fog during midlife. So what causes it and how can they improve cognitive clarity?
So the biggest way really to navigate all of these symptoms, again, these are the pieces that we bring into the work that I do. So we will talk about sleep. Sleep is so important. Getting the best sleep that you can. Functional nutrition. So how can we find the best diet for you? Maybe there are things that you need to eliminate or really cut back in your diet. And so working on finding what those things are, working on your gut health. So much stems from and starts with gut health. What supplementation might be necessary or helpful as you are navigating these things. And then while we're doing all of these things, finding ways to manage and cope with stress, whatever that may be. Is it yoga? Is it mindfulness activities? Is it breath work? I'm also a Reiki master, so I will use Reiki in my practice with my clients to help with just energy work and energy shifting. But for also women and everybody, it's really important to move your body. You've got to move your body in order to be healthy and in order to just balance everything that's going on in your body. So finding the most meaningful and best way for you to move your body, whether that's walking or running or yoga or Pilates, whatever it is, finding that. And so then you take all of these things, we put them together, and we come up with the best plan to help move you forward.
When a client comes to you feeling overwhelmed, what does looking beyond the line actually?
So for me, that means looking at the whole person. I want to, when I sit down with a client, I want to know who they are. I want to know who you are, not just, your symptoms, not just your lab results. I want to know who you are. What do you like to do? Who do you love? Who are the people you spend time with? What are the activities that you enjoy? How do you spend your time? What do you do for work? I want to know all of these things because I feel like all of that plays into coming up with the best plan moving forward for the best care. And it also helps me really connect with and understand my client because everybody's a little bit different and everybody their plan is a little bit different. And so I really want to know my clients.
So how does functional medicine differ from conventional approaches to symptoms management?
So, as I talked about a little bit earlier, generally traditional medicine will look at a symptom and treat the symptom. Looking at or like putting a Band-Aid on it. Really, just kind of, if you think about it, when you go to your general practitioner, a lot of times they have 7 minutes with you, right? 7, maybe 10 if you're lucky. It's really hard to get to the bottom of what's happening in a person, whatever the symptom is, in 7 to 10 minutes. And so what we do from the functional medicine perspective is we really want to find out what is underlying that symptom. What is it that is causing this symptom or symptoms, and how can we address that from the ground up in order to have the best, healthiest whole person moving forward. So it's really from top down, bottom up is really the kind of the difference. That being said, traditional medicine is obviously so important, right? Like I wouldn't have had my diagnosis without the scans and all of the tests that we need to have. And so important to, I think, incorporate all of this when you're caring for a person.
So how important are sleep, nutrition, and stress management during
Sleep, you had asked about sleep and stress management. Yeah.
yes.
So I frequently will say to my clients, I sleep like it's my job. Like it's probably the single most important thing in everybody's health. Because that is when your body is able to rest, reset, and really heal. And so really finding a routine, to set yourself up for the best sleep possible. I like to say, allow yourself, if you can, allow yourself 8 hours in bed, right? You might not sleep for 8 hours, but allow yourself 8 hours and set up a routine that allows you to get into the best space possible to get the best sleep possible. In perimenopause and menopause, a lot of times you'll have night sweats and hot flashes during the night, and these things will wake you up. So for people who are experiencing that, we want to look at the best way to mitigate that in order to get the best sleep possible. And as far as stress management, this is also such an important piece in pretty much every diagnosis. There's going to be an element of stress that got you to that diagnosis. And so how do we look at mitigating stress, finding ways to deal with it? And we will, in my work, we'll look at, I will use yoga with my clients who are open to it. Use Reiki energy work with people who are open to it. I also will recommend breath work techniques, so important. Meditation, journaling, and trying to come up with the best plan for the person in front of me that is going to help them with these things as they move forward.
Okay, so look at your so I think that you are also a really master and yoga instructor. How do you combine holistic practice with clinical science?
Um, I just I have such a love for yoga. It's like it's one of my favorite things to do in the entire world. And I just know for me, my journey ha into yoga, um, I was a college athlete, and when I finished competing, I needed to find a way to get myself to the mental and physical edge that I had when I was competing. And that's how I found yoga. That's how I found power yoga. And as I kind of advanced in my practice and then became an instructor, it became the kind of basis and core of my stress management. And so I like to introduce that to clients who are open to it, willing to kind of explore that space. And then as far as Reiki is energy exchange, and it's something that you can utilize in everyday interactions and activities without even having to say I'm doing Reiki on you. It's really just exchange of energy. And so I use that practice in my everyday interactions and with my clients all the time in the space when we're together.
Okay, that's it. You have spent decades caring for others and have experienced your own health challenges firsthand. Looking back, what is the biggest lesson your journey has taught you about healing, resilience, and living a meaningful life?
Um, I would say the biggest lesson for me is that you can't do any of this alone. You can't do any of this alone. We need to lean on our people. We need to be open to communication and allowing other people into our space that are open to helping us and want us to be the best version of ourselves, whatever the situation is. We are social beings by nature, and so whatever it is, you can't do it alone.
Okay. So, Nancy, this conversation has been eye-opening. You have helped us understand that many of the struggle women face in life are not signs of weakness, but uh, biological signals that deserve attention, compassion, and understanding. Your work reminds us that healing begins when we stop judging ourselves and start listening to what our bodies are trying to tell us. Thank you for sharing your expertise, wisdom, and heart with us today. So before we go, how can audience or listener connect with you?
So you can find me through my website. It is nancythompsonholisticwellness.com. And through there, you can book a call with me. I also have an e-store that you can access through my website where you can purchase high quality products and supplements to help you on your journey. And I would love to help and connect. So please, please, please reach out.
Okay, thank you for that information, Nancy. So if today's conversation resonates with you and you'd like to learn more about Nancy's work, schedule a free discovery call through our website. She helps women uncover the root cause behind fatigue, craving, hormonal imbalance, and emotional overwhelm while creating a personalized roadmap towards healing and vitality. Visit Nancy Thompson Holistic Wellness slash book a call. So to connect with Nancy and begin your journey towards whole person wellness. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Mind Over Habit podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who could benefit this episode. Remember, your symptoms are not your identity. Your challenges are not your destiny. Healing begins when you understand and replace judgment. Until next time, keep building habits that support your health, your growth, and your purpose. I am Mosi, and this is the Mind Over Habit podcast. See you on the next episode.